Congratulations, Crawler, you have made it to level 4. I hope you're prepared to be thoroughly confused. Yeah. Holy cow. Where to start with this one? Level 4. This this level is a mess of train tracks. That's what the whole level is. Train tracks, train stations, interconnecting stations with transfer stations, train yards, and it is nearly impossible to get your mind wrapped around it. Thankfully, our boy, Mr. Matt Dinneman, he writes a paragraph at the very beginning of the book and says, listen, I know there's a lot in here, a lot of numbers, a lot of colors of different lines. Keep up if you want to, but if you don't worry, just go along for the ride and enjoy it. So that's what I did. And anybody who can keep up with all the numbers and the colors and the paths, good for you. Good for you. I hope you're designing important things for NASA or something. So yeah, let's talk about this. No spoilers first. Like I said, it is a train level, basically. There are subways, monorails, steam engines, and it's all tracks. The platforms are where you find your like safe houses, personal spaces, your desperado club, that kind of stuff. Or else, as soon as you go out, the whole rest of it is train tracks. Now, the kicker with this one, they have to find these stairwells. Well, if it's all stations and train tracks, obviously the stairwells are in the stations. I guess kind of, yeah. But the problem is these tracks have like 400 plus stops. And when they start the level, when everybody starts the level, they start at a station with a higher number. They're farther along the track than where the stairwells are. So that means you have to backtrack, but the trains only go one way. Plus, you can't just wait for a train to pass and then run down the tunnel to the prior stations because there's always more trains coming. And the tunnels are compact. They're only big enough for the train to get through. So you can't squeeze up against the side, you can't hide underneath or cling to the ceiling. No. There's only one way to go on these tracks. So how do you get back to the prior stations and get to the stairwells to exit the level? That's the challenge. And there's a lot to this. It is complicated. And I took the author's advice at the beginning. When they talked about the paths of the tracks, the colors, the numbers even, I'll just let it go in one ear and out the other. Now, it's good because it keeps your mind free and it keeps you from going insane, but also it kind of takes away from the experience, I think. It's one thing when you can understand what's going on in the environment, and another thing when you basically just have to hand the keys over to someone else and just basically believe everything the character is saying without being able to go, oh, yeah, okay, Carl, that makes sense. Or it's like, no, what are you guys doing? Remember when this, you kind of have to just, when they talk about, we need to get to this station and do this, and that will lead us to this, and then we can push this car through that, and you just have to be like, okay, whatever you say. It's like you're a member of the group who knows nothing about what's going on, and just be like, okay, I'll follow you. And that kind of takes out some of the enjoyment, feeling like you're part of the team, like you're actually understanding what's going on. So yeah, that I think that's what really hurt this, is that the interactions are still hilarious and funny. The battles are still awesome, gory, cruel, and sometimes, but it's just the fact that you don't feel like you totally understand what's going on, and you're just riding coattails. And I think that's what kept it. I kept thinking to myself, what do I call this? I want to say a stinker, which is not fair. The other two books were so great and so fun that when you take away a part of it and you feel a little bit lost and not completely, like I said, with the team or with everything that's going on, it just feels like less of an experience. And so that's how I kind of feel. I feel like it's your favorite TV show. Your favorite TV show. You love all the characters, you love everything about this, and then you have an episode where the situation or something you don't get or you just don't connect to, and you're like, oh, okay, well, I'll just forget about that one. Let's wait for the next one. Thankfully, there is another one. But there's not even too much to say about this one because the level is so complicated, even for our characters, that is the main concern. They're trying to figure this whole thing out, and they don't really get it all figured out to the very, very end. So there's not even a whole lot of battles. In fact, the whole, I don't know, first 100, 150 pages, there wasn't much going on at all. And I was kind of feeling like, where is this going? What are we doing here? We do get, the tables, the crafting tables open up their personal spaces, which kind of reminded me of like a Sims game where they can just like move the kitchen area to where they wanted, put a table here, put this there, that kind of thing, which wasn't really all that interesting. And especially when like people are at the crafting tables, there's so much going on with that it's another thing that you just have to kind of like let the character talk about it and be like, okay, I believe you. All right, let's just go along with it instead of grasping everything, because there's just so much. And that's another thing too, that at this point we're getting to where there's so much with items that they're holding, their abilities that they've gained and lost, that when they start talking about plans they want to come up with or things they want to make, and they pull out these items, it's like, well, because this one has this ability and this charm, and if we combine it with this, we can attach this to this, or if I give myself this one, and you're just like, it's too much. It is too much. I don't know what this guy was on when he was writing this. I know I've said that a long time, but how he keeps all this stuff straight, I have no idea. So yeah, it's got to be a bit too much with that. Hopefully the next level, well, we'll talk about that in spoilers. Maybe I'll give you a hint at the end of this one. But I think that's all I can really say for non-spoilers. It's a tough one to read just because there's so much you just have to let go out your ear and don't worry about. You're along for the ride and really have, like I said, it felt like I was taking a back seat to understanding everything. And so that just hurt it for me. So let me stop there with non-spoilers. If you enjoyed the first two, there's still a lot to love with this. Obviously, I heard from another guy, because I talked to him about this book, and he says, yeah, that one was tough. Somebody else, I threw up a short about this, and somebody else said, yeah, it was pretty complicated. But I heard the next books, they get better. So we'll see. If you enjoyed the first two, read this one, push on. We're going to jump to spoilers. So if you have not read it, stop. Read it, come join us for spoilers, and then let me know what you think about the Dungeon Anarchist Cookbook when you come back for spoilers, all right? So we're going to do spoilers right now. Let me grab my phone, put this book away. A lot of notes here, a lot of notes. Could have been more, but there were, like I said, they're just big sections where I'm just like, I don't even know what to write or note what's going on, because they have all these plans, especially when we get to the portals. And it's like, well, we do this portal, this is a two-way, this is the one-way, and you put it on here, and it's going to lead to this. Okay, if that's what you say. So let's get going here. We talked about the story. Where's my spoilers? Mordecai obviously gets transported away. He goes nuts on that guy, and poof, he's gone, which I was kind of glad of, because when it starts, they go out, and when they come back, and Mordecai's like, I made you this potion, I made you this, and this is how this is going to work. And I'm thinking, man, this guy, he's like someone who knows everything about the whole. It's like having the game on with like hints, like the fullest level of hints you can have. It's like, oh, just let me tell you how to do this. Let me tell you about this. And it was starting to feel like this is such an unfair advantage for these people. And so I was pretty glad when Mordecai poofed away. It's like, okay, now let's see how you guys figure this out. So I was totally okay with that. Bit of a shock, though, that we lost him for so long. Then we get poor Donut on the dance floor, kills that guy. I wonder if those bouncer things, I guess they're going to be around on every level. And it kind of seems like they're going to be more and more valuable, because after Carl kind of saved him from What's-Her-Face who came in, he said, we want to keep these guys around. I know they made a mistake, but it's okay. We'll keep them around. And then I think, they start buying things with their own money for the club, like that protective shield or whatever else. So I thought, okay, that was pretty nice. Pretty interesting. We get the Crazy Nightmare Express. And that lady in the fireplace or the oven, whatever you call it, in the train, that like devil lady who's having babies who just turn into fuel. Nutso. We get to, All right, so let's talk about Katya and Hekla. They come back, and all those sisters are in their personal space. Which, if I was Carl, I would have been like, "What are you doing?" But he's got to play it cool, play it nice. But I was not expecting. Well, we were on the train, and the fact that he had to keep telling the fairy girl to heal Katya. He's like, "What are we doing?" I think he had to do it himself too a few times. He's like, "Where is she?" And she have to keep looking at Hekla for that nod, be like, "Okay, do it. Okay, do it." And you're like, "What? What is going on here? Something mischievous." But when Katya went nuts on what's her name, Ava, the the who is it, Hekla's patient, right? Her psychiatric patient. Which with that reveal, you were just like, "Ooh, that's interesting." Psychiatrist and her patient is basically the henchman, or how do you say, the cleaner. She's the one who does everything, so she's got like mind control over her. But I guess it doesn't mean anything because when she did her rush attack and it missed Ava, I thought maybe she was gonna like fly out of the train and bust through somewhere and I don't know, do something crazy. I was not expecting for Hekla to be killed by that. That was a moment where I was like, oh my goodness, whoa, that is crazy. Such a big player in the game. But then I was immediately confused because when that happens and it says Hekla stood up and did this, and then I was like, wait, wait a minute. I read that right. She's dead, but Hekla's standing up, and then it said another Hekla, and I was like, okay, what's going on here? But Smart Donut doing that, I forget the name of the move, basically raising him from the dead, and then like the triplicate thing. Awesome, awesome, awesome stuff. So yeah, that whole scene and with everything, that was a shocking, shocking moment. Well, I guess from there, a lot of stuff, and this is so much which kind of frustrated me. It didn't frustrate me. It was just like that piece that felt like was missing, understanding the level where they're talking about portals and this one leads to this train yard and we know this and this and this. I didn't even try to keep up with it. I don't know if you guys did or if you understood it more, but I really was just hands off or brain off with a lot of that stuff. It was too much, and I wasn't going to strain myself or make the reading experience stressful trying to think about all that stuff. But then we get to talking about the train map, right? They're looking at it in 2D form, 3D, and it's lucky they got Katya with them to be able to draw this stuff from a side angle, upside down, and all that kind of stuff. Eventually, they figured out what they need to do. They get crazy, crazy Carl. I mean, sometimes, and I feel like I have to tell myself, it's just a book, right? Like when you're watching a movie and just stuff that shouldn't work, and you're just like, it's just a movie. And for me, I'm like, it's just a book. Carl's idea to summon the god, and he's asking Mordecai all these questions, and he gets pulled through that portal to where he's in there with the mimic and the god, and you're like, you're done. You're done. You're done. Of course, he got that lucky potion from Mordecai, which he gets like flattened and stepped on, and you're just like, oh man. And then one thing I didn't understand was I didn't know he could summon the god again, I know he was asking Mordecai those questions, and maybe it was just me. Maybe I read it too fast. I didn't know he could like resummon it while it was already out. I thought it had to run down its time and then you could summon it again. So when they brought through that Mantor that they had tied up and he started hitting that one, I didn't understand. It confused me. Obviously it worked, but I was like, wait, you can't just summon. He's right there. You can't summon him again. You have to wait for the time. So I don't know. It is what it is. Go with it, right? The whole book has just been go with it. So we get to the end. Agatha magically shows up again, which still wondering what's up with her, with her shopping cart with the weapons she had or whatever she's got going on. Weird stuff. And how he kind of stopped everybody. He's like, don't ask her any questions. Just let her go. Like, okay. We get to Odette's show, which has been another source, kind of like Mordecai, right? It seems like Carl, whether it's his personality and interacting with all these other people, or it's them, like some of these people who are involved in the crawl, like the administrators, that kind of stuff, who know what's going on and they kind of hate the people running it. But it seems like he just gets so lucky with Mordecai, with Odette, with Zev, all these people giving him so many hints about things. And so they finally get that taken away with, I forget her name, that was had Katya or whatever. So Zev's gone for re-education, but will be back. And so Odette's not allowed to say certain things to him. So I was like, okay, we're kind of, at least for now, toning back on all the help they've been getting, because it seems a little unfair. But let me see here. So they talked about, or Odette talked about the next level. And they kind of told us this. But as soon as she said, like, it won't be so let me see. I've got the quote here. It says, quote, "They won't be able to complain about this floor, floor 5, being complicated, that's for sure. At least not the layout. Possibilities are almost endless." And my mind immediately went to, like, sandbox. Not, part of me thought like literal desert, but I was just thinking, okay, it's just giant open place with maybe no buildings, and it's maybe like Minecraft for you to craft and do all that stuff. And then later she talks about how your crafting tables are gonna come in real handy. She talked about missing people banding together, and because they said when you're not or whoever's not in your party, you're just gonna be poof. So I wonder if they're not gonna see anybody else in the next level, and it's just gonna be their little team of 4. But they got to pick, or Donut got to spin the wheel of fortune, and they got what? The Air Quadrant and Dirigible Gnomes with the Wasteland Fortress. And when they opened that door, and it was just dunes as far as the eye can see. Now, I thought, oh, here we go. But part of me thinks, oh man, it's going to be so craft heavy. So craft heavy. And I kind of talked about how some of that was like over my head, or I just kind of let go over my head with the crafting. So I hope it doesn't go too nuts with that stuff. But part of me thinks if it's a sky level, it's the air quadrant, and they're just going to be starting on the ground. Are they going to have to build flying machines? Are they going to have to build something to get up into the air? I'm assuming it's kind of like the new Zelda game, right? Tears of the Kingdom or whatever it's called, with all those floating platforms. I just imagine like this giant floating rock with a fortress on it. Maybe flying dirigibles around, I guess. But yeah, we're going to have to see. It sounds interesting, like the train level did. Hopefully it doesn't get too complicated. Can't see it being as complicated as this one. Kudos to the author for sticking with it. He had to know when he was writing this, thinking, like, he has people read it along. You're like, is this too complicated? Is this? And surely somebody had to say, yeah, you need to back it down. But who knows if he actually backed it down and this is the remainder, or if he just said, you know what, it's mine. I want to do this. I'll tell people they don't have to worry about things, but this is what I want to do. I'm the artiste. So kudos to you for doing that. The Pineapple Cabaret one, Growler Gary, Mr. No Hands. I guess I'll go ahead and mention that part. That was a nice, funny little bit where they bite him, they take off the hand. He's like, you need the other hand. He's like, phew. They go right back in. Gary says like, hey guys, and he walks up and he's like, hey bud, sorry to do this. Cha-chomp. And then by what was it, like the 10th or 11th time, whatever it was, he's just like, no. Funny stuff. But we get into the wherever they are, where they're making up this level, and we learn that there's kind of like 2 factions within this other realm who are building this other level. People with Rory, who are the true believers, and then you've got the llama. It's the grandma llama, right? Who are realizing, like, listen, these people are not our friends. We don't trust them. We shouldn't believe a word they say. Do what they say, maybe, but we're going to keep our eyes on them and figure out what's going on. So we didn't learn too much backstage with Gary other than that. But I guess they told him he can be, he's immortal with like creation, when he can create stuff. And that he was like, okay, that sounds good. So that's what I'm going to go with. The actual cookbook, yet again, something that's giving him hints and whatnot. So it's kind of an interesting thing. You get all these tips and tricks. It's kind of like a bulletin board or announcement board of everybody's like, hey, I just learned this about this. Oh, well, let me tell you that this is actually how it works. Hey, guys, they're both kind of right, but let me be more specific. That's kind of a neat little tool. And let's just go to some random stuff I thought was funny. First, Donut the Guinness skill. Which, did they mention it when she killed that guy in the bar? Because the Guinness skill says doubles her strength if she's drunk, which is great. Guinness skill doubles your strength if you're drunk. What else do I have here? Let me see here. I have a passage. Oh, when he gets those balls, he can make ball potions that he can throw at mobs and affect them, whatever that the potion is. And then he says, can I just make like healing potions that I can throw? And he's like, Donut's like, you will not be throwing balls at me like some dog. Funny stuff. And then when they first get their safe space, it says, welcome to the neighborhood. And I'm going to quote it here. It says, you have bought a home. It's every man's dream to someday own a place where he can fap in peace. Unnecessary, hilarious. So yeah, still funny. Like I said, the comedy in this is awesome. The wit and the jabbing at each other, I love it. It was just like I said though, this book was your favorite TV show where the situation in today's episode didn't quite land, and just move on to the next one. That's how I take it. It is like, I don't even know what more to say. Maybe you have more to say if you have read it. Maybe you can give me a hint to the following books if they're better. I only have one guy referenced who says, yeah, they do get better. But let me know what you think about this book, about the upcoming books, to stick with it. I am going to stick with it. You see, I do have the fourth one here. What is it? The Gate of the Pharaoh Gods. I'm doing these books once a month. So that one will come out about a month from now. I'll just keep doing them once a month because I'm going to run out of these books by like January or February. Not looking forward to that. That's going to stink when I hit the last one that's available. But anywho, another month from now, we'll do another Dungeon Crawler Carl. Check out some of the other books I've reviewed. Check out my TBR so you know what's coming up. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already, and I will see you next time.